In a rather surprising event, a truce has been agreed upon between the warring factions in Ethiopian civil war. This ceasefire deal, if it holds long enough, might provide Ethiopians with much needed respite from their 2-year-long agony, tribulations and sufferings. Today in this video, we recap what the Ethiopian civil war was all about. But before that, don't forget to subscribe Oneindia. Consider these facts in order to understand about the gravity of this civil war, which rarely had been even talked about, even though it had been going on for nearly 2 years. Almost 1/3 of children in the region have been suffering from malnutrition since the civil war started. Almost 90% of the people in the Tigray region have been in dire need of extensive food aid since the onset of this conflict. Millions of people have been internally displaced, while humanitarian aid has also been denied to millions of people in Tigray. According to unverified reports, the cases of sexual violence in the region is amongst one of the highest in any conflicts in the world in last 2 years. Ethiopia is Africa's second most populous nation with the largest economy in East Africa. But the country is ethnically fractured with more than 80 distinct groups, many of them beset by old enmities and overlapping territorial claims. The spotlight of the conflict has been the Tigray region in northern Ethiopia. Up until 1974, the country was ruled by an emperor. Many of the ethnic groups during this time were treated as second or third class citizens. The Ethiopian empire was replaced by a communist regime which led to the rise of the so-called Red Terror in terms of killings of political opponents. Militias all over the nation rose up in response and civil war went on for decades. Two of the strongest militia groups back then were TPLF and EPLF, that is Tigrayan People's Liberation Front and Eritrean People's Liberation Front. Eritrea finally declared independence from Ethiopia in 1991 when the communist regime came to an end. This made TPLF the most powerful militia group in the country with untrammeled powers and gave it a free rein. The TPLF then formed a coalition with the other parties and then effectively became the single most dominant party that ruled for almost 30 years. Even though the Tigrayans constituted just about 6 to 7% of the entire population, they were dominant in the coalition. But the region of Tigray continued to remain poor. Ethiopia during this period did make a lot of progress economically and otherwise, but it still was far from being a truly democratic nation at that time. Then in 1998, a war with Eritrea began. Few years later, Abiy Ahmed comes in the picture, a man who was awarded Nobel Peace Prize in 2019 for his efforts to de-escalate tensions between Ethiopia and Eritrea and for taking initiatives for expanding civil rights and freedom. He released political prisoners and gave more freedom to journalists. He also started Prosperity Party, a new coalition, and removed key Tigrayan government leaders accused of corruption and repression. But the TPLF simply refused to join the coalition. Inter-factions conflicts escalated, pushing Ethiopia into severe crisis. Abiy Ahmed responded to this by taking some stringent measures. The feud came to a head in September 2020 when Tigray defied the central government to hold its own regional elections. The central government, which had postponed national elections because of COVID-19, said it was illegal. The rift grew when the central government suspended funding for Tigray and cut ties with it in October. Tensions increased and the eventual catalyst came when Tigrayan forces were accused of attacking army bases to steal weapons. The two sides virtually came to a war just after this on 4th November 2020. Soon after, stories of massacres, widespread sexual violence and large-scale migration of people to the neighboring nation, Sudan, started coming. But nobody in the world paid any heed to this conflict that was devastating this nation in the Horn of Africa. On August 27 this year, WHO chief clearly said that this civil war was being neglected by the world due to the race of the people in this nation. This statement clearly says a lot about the perspective of the world. This was all about the civil war in Ethiopia, in which a truce has just been brokered. We hope you would like this new video. Thank you so much for watching.
Subscribe to Oneindia channel and never miss an update.